It would not be Selection Sunday without those two smiling faces. CBS Sports College Hoops writers Matt Norlander and Chip Patterson. Gentlemen, help us set the stage here for this Big Ten title game. It was the deepest conference this season. It's produced a handful of legitimate Final Four contenders. Matt, your expectations for this one coming up on CBS?
It should be a pretty good one here. This is the last game that will be played in college basketball before we have a bracket. So I'm interested to see how Illinois presents itself because Illinois has nothing to lose. It's going to be a one seed. We know the one seeds at this point. There's no argument against Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan. Illinois is the 4 1 seeds. I guess the question is, could Illinois jump Michigan in the overall hierarchy and become the number 3 overall 1 seed here? As for this game, how can you not love what the Illini are doing? I mean, I've been kind of half seriously saying, like, how can I get Gonzaga and Illinois to both win the national championship in the same tournament here? Because that's how good Illinois has been. Like, we'll see what happens in this game. But right now, Illinois is playing as well as anyone in America. They've just been fantastic. Obviously, you know, Mass Mamba, Ayo Dosunmu has been wonderful. Kofi Cockburn. Ohio State has no one. They have got nobody to combat him. Very few people in all of the sport can combat Kofi Cockburn. And then Andre Curbelo. He has been something of a mini breakout star across college basketball in the past few days. Illinois fans know who he is and what he's capable of, and he should be one of the real players to watch in college basketball heading into next season. But in the here and now, he is the spark plug. He is the player that always seems to be able to make really big plays for Illinois. Sometimes he can be a little Russ Smith-esh for Illinois. What Russ Smith was to Louisville, you know, 7-8 years ago. I feel like Curbelo is kind of growing into that a little bit, but I love how Illinois sets up in this one, particularly because Ohio State, they're good, they can shoot, not great defensively, undersized, so Chris Holtmann will have to pull off quite a coaching feat if they're going to pull off the upset.
What an interesting contrast of these two teams, particularly when you compare it to when we had the look back into what the selection committee was thinking when they released the top 16 seeds, and Ohio State was right there near the top. Now, since then, the Buckeyes finished the regular season on a losing streak, while Illinois has just continued to surge and surge and surge. You know, they get the win over Michigan, they get a win over Ohio State, they absolutely throttle Rutgers, they look fantastic against Iowa. And Ohio State, it just hasn't been all that easy here in the Big Ten tournament. You know, Purdue storms back, forces overtime. Ohio State figures that away. Michigan nearly storms back, has a shot to win that game at the buzzer, but Ohio State survives. Can this Buckeyes team that finished the regular season on a losing streak and has just been able to hang on and piece it together, do they have one more masterpiece here against, like Matt said, a legitimate national championship contender?
It's a more electric duo right now heading into tourney time than Ayo Dosunmu and Kofi Cockburn.
Oh, without a doubt. And the thing that has been really exciting about this tournament is that, you know, Ayo Dosunmu hasn't even necessarily needed to be the superstar. Now, for my money, he's their MVP. I mean, he is the best closer in college basketball. He has been the heart of this team. But as we've seen, like, I think that right now, Kofi Cockburn would be the front runner on this Illinois team for Big Ten tournament MVP or most outstanding player based on his performance against Rutgers and against Iowa. We see Andre Curbelo, as Matt just mentioned, has just continued to flourish. A player like Trent Frazier, who is a great defender, can step up when needed to on the offensive end. This is a complete Iowa team with 2 players that could have been in the NBA. They could be playing in the league right now, but they both decided to come back. And the moment that they did, Illinois became one of the most interesting teams in college basketball. When you take that into consideration, it really isn't that big a surprise that they're here, but still the way that they've taken care of business late in the season, their form at this point in the season is why Illinois is so exciting.
Yeah, and as a reminder, you know, Ayo Dosunmu, I believe, would have been drafted if he wanted to go last year. He opted not to, came back. Kofi Cockburn, I don't know if he would have been drafted, to be honest. He made the right decision to come back and has helped his stock. He's still, you know, a little bit of a square peg, round hole situation, traditional big, look at the modern NBA, whatever. But your point's well taken, Joe, and that outside in, inside out combo, however you want to define it, has been wonderful. But take you inside the locker room just a little bit more, and speaking with Brad Underwood in recent weeks and those around the program, it's just an extremely tight locker room, highly motivated. And Underwood, who is in his he's 57 years old. I mean, it took him more than 5 decades to land a job like this. He was at Oklahoma State before, but this is where his quality as a head coach is really starting to shine. And those players, they love him. That staff, they are a tight-knit group here. And so I say all this just to lay out not just what we might see here on display in this game, and if Illinois were to go on to win, if it were, you might see some emotion out of a lot of these players, because they've been to get Illinois back to this point. I mean, that fan base has been starving for top 10 relevance. It believes that it should be on a year-by-year basis with no excuses, a top 25 team every single year. Brad Underwood now has it at this point. People believe he has the ability to keep it at this point going forward, and it's why they've got a great shot at winning a national title as well, which is not like Ohio State's a good, quality, talented team. It can win this game. I know it can. If it shoots well, if Dwayne Washington does his thing, they're going to have a shot. Illinois is not guaranteed to win it. But as we enter into the Selection Sunday, final day of the season before we get to the big bracket play, Illinois has just been playing as well as anyone on both ends of the court.
A proud alum, Joe Musso Sr. co-signs all of those said statements as Illinois looks to claim this Big Ten title. But for all the talent that this Illinois team possesses, it is a Buckeyes team they're facing that served them one of their 4 conference losses during the season. Matt, what's the formula to slowing and, dare I say, stopping this potent Illini offense?
Stopping it's not going to be on the table, unfortunately. They have to get lucky and hope that Illinois doesn't shoot all that well. They have to hope that Illinois isn't as motivated and focused, given that it's a house money situation for Illinois in this spot here. Dwayne Washington continues to play well. E.J. Liddell is the most important player on the floor, though, because he is the big they're going to have to rely on. We await to see the availability of a Kyle Young, who's been in concussion protocol. Not having him takes Ohio State just down a little bit of a notch there. So it's all offense. I mean, frankly, Ohio State is capable of having a day where it shoots 55% from the field. And if it does that against Illinois, that's where it's going to have a real chance there. Also talked to Chris Holtman recently, and he was telling me this group has a certain quiet confidence to them that he's never coached before. Like, he's had confident teams, but there's just no selfishness. And he said that's a big reason why we've gotten to the point we've gotten to. Our guys just aren't that selfish. Like, Dwayne Washington can fill it up and he'll get his shots, but he doesn't have to. And there's not any sort of grudges being held that he might just get a few more buckets up than other guys. So for Illinois on the floor, or for Ohio State on the floor against this one against Illinois, my recipe for them to win is they're going to have to shoot better than 40% as a team from 3-point range and get as many second chance opportunities as you can, which is going to be easier said than done, because as we've said plenty of times on HQ in the past month or so, because we've done a lot of Ohio State games, this is the smallest team in the league, and that's a detriment against a team like Illinois, which has some good size.
Yeah, defensively, I'm not expecting there to be a lot of stops. There's a lot of matchup problems. So I would also say you've got to avoid foul trouble. They're not real deep. If the Buckeyes have to start going deep into the bench, particularly with potentially no Young in the lineup, then that's going to be really dicey. So I look to Ohio State and I think, all right, how do you beat Illinois? 85, right? Wasn't it 87 to beat Illinois the first time? And so I think you probably need to just figure out a way to get yourself to 85. You got to hope that you're going to be knocking it down from 3, therefore forcing Illinois to come out a little bit and maybe giving E.J. Liddell a little bit more space in a very, very difficult matchup against Kofi Coburn. I just think it's got to be all offense. That is the recipe for success. And again, defensively, you got to defend the 3. You got to be able to avoid foul trouble against one of the most dominant big men in all of college basketball. It's really, really tough. I look at the foul trouble that Luka Garza got in today and how impactful that was in the way that this game played out. Because while Illinois held control against Iowa, Iowa was never really totally out of it, but they didn't have the gas there at the end. So very difficult for Ohio State. They got to be able to get hot from 3, avoid foul trouble. That's the recipe for success.
All right, we got to put a pick to it. Our friends at William Hill have Illinois going off as 5.5-point favorites. Total coming in the neighborhood of 151 and a hook. Favorite way to play it? Chip, you got the honors.
All right, let's go. Illinois by double digits. I think that it's not even that close, and that this grind that Ohio State has been through really starts to catch up to it. The overtime game against Purdue, a really hard-fought rivalry-style game after that. So I will be going with Illinois to win this one easily and cover that spread.
You know, I'm going to go with the over. I like that over/under. I would go the over. I can see what Chip's laying out happening. Like, I can see a situation where there's 2.5 minutes to go in this game, and it's kind of been floating between a 5 and 8 point cushion for Illinois all afternoon, and then suddenly you just look up and the game ends by 14. You know, a 14-point gap. I'll stop short of that. Illinois wins. Illinois covers, but along the lines of 88-80, the Illini get it done and head into the tournament. Again, this will be a trendy national championship pick, particularly because people are going to want to have a reason to talk themselves into not taking the best team in college basketball, which is Gonzaga. Illinois will be the most likely candidate.
It is hat and T-shirt day in the Big Ten, and someone's going home with a cold dome. Matt Norlander, Chip Patterson, keeping us informed and entertained throughout the day. Thanks, gentlemen. For more from our guys, be sure to download and subscribe to the Eye on College Basketball podcast. There's no better time of year to get involved than right now. Matt Norlander, Gary Parrish, and our team of experts keeping you up to date and in the know on all things college hoops. Download and subscribe to the Eye on College Basketball podcast.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.